To cover a recreation of the add latitude longitude flow. Before I get started recreating the flow, let's take a look at what the flow does, what our inputs are, what our outputs are. So as two inputs here, the first one is a mapping of the zip code to the latitude longitude. We can take a look at this. This only includes zip codes in Massachusetts. As you can see, the postal code represents zip code, and we have associated latitude and longitudes. The next input, which is what I'm going to be covering in this video, is a web scraper that retrieves data from realtor.com, its housing data, and we'll take a look at that in just a second. So let's go over here to realtor.com, and here we have some real estate data, and the data that we're interested in is the monthly inventory. So we're going to look at current month data, and we're going to want to view it by zip code. This is going to be the most refined data so that we can track how the average price, median price, square footage, total listings, etc. are changing based on zip code for, say, a potential buyer wants to buy a house within their price range or whatnot. They may get a zip code where they can start looking at those homes. Now, it's important to note this data is updating monthly, so that's great news, which means that when the flow runs, the web scraper will be scraping the most recently updated data. So we're interested in this view zip data right here. So in order to record going to this website, clicking view zip data, and downloading that data set, we first need to download the Selenium IDE Chrome extension. It's very simple, it takes just a couple of seconds to download, and once we have that, we're going to click on it right up here, Selenium IDE. Now this page is going to open, so let's record a new test in a new project. Call this Webscraper housing. And it wants a base URL, which is going to be where to start sort of scraping from. So that's going to be our realtor.com. And let's hit start recording. So now, as you see in the bottom right, Selenium is recording everything that we do. And so if we wanted to go to a different tab of this page or go somewhere else and download some other data, Selenium would record all of that and pick it up. So all we want to do is scroll down. We find inventory monthly, and we're just going to click on this current month data, view zip data, and that's all we need. So now let's go back to Selenium, and let's stop recording. So we'll call this Realtor current month, and let's hit OK. So as you can see, it's showing us sort of what we did. We opened the website, we scrolled down, and then we clicked on view zip data. So pretty simple there. Now, what we want to do with this test and how we can use it to create the web scraper in Ikigai, we're going to click the three dots and hit export. Over here under language, we want it to be Python PyTest, and let's export that. And now we want to open that file to see what it looks like. So over here, we have a class that represents sort of the actions that we just did. Now, for our custom facet, all that we have to do is copy this last function here. And as you can see, this test realtor current month, that's what we called that test. And it has these three actions that we did. We went to the website, we scrolled down, and then we clicked on that view zip data. So we're just going to copy those lines in. And that's all we need from that website. So let's go back and now begin to create our demo. So let's create a new flow. And we're going to add an input, and it's going to be a custom facet. So now let's edit that facet. We're going to look for self-serve web scraper. And as you can see, the argument here is Selenium IDE script, which is exactly what we just copied in. So let's do that. And let's just indent that properly. There we go. So let's update. And that's all we need to do. Let's make sure that this worked by just exporting it out. And we'll call it Webscraper test. Great, so now we're ready to run the flow. So let's run it. And this may take a little bit of time just because the custom facet is activating a Chrome driver, going to the web page, ultimately downloading the data that we clicked on, and then the data has to get recognized as a data set and finally exported out to our datasets tab in Ikigai. So it should be done right about now. There we go, it just ran. So let's go back and make sure that we have Webscraper test in there. So going over to datasets, let's refresh. And we have Webscraper test. Let's see what it looks like and ensure that everything went according to plan. See, there's about 10K rows. We have the month and year, postal code, which looks accurate, the zip name, which contains the city and the state initials. We have some interesting factors: median listing price, active listing count, days on market. As we keep scrolling, we have listing per square foot. We have median square feet, average listing price could be an interesting one to look at, total listing count. We'll note that all of these columns that end in MM or year represent the average change from month to month or average change from year to year. That's why these ones are small decimals. They represent percentage change. So that's an overview of the Webscraper and how it works. In the part 2 of this recreation, I'm going to go over taking this output from the Webscraper and ultimately adding the latitude longitude data, selecting columns, joining them together, dropping missing values, and ultimately creating the latitude longitude map. So stay tuned for that second video. In this video, we covered just the Webscraper, how to take the Webscraper, Webscraper website, and get exported data.